Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. Today we're going to make a Persian macaroni. Yes, you heard it right. This is the Persian cousin of the Mediterranean pasta dish that we all know as spaghetti. Stick around to learn how Persians put their own spin on this popular dish. The plan is to make our sauce. It's got some canned tomato products, but I shred some fresh tomatoes to enhance the flavor of this sauce. Like that, you can throw the rest away. This is what we're going for. A low and slow simmer is what's gonna get it all melded together and tasty. I have about 3 tablespoons of a neutral oil. I use grapeseed, or you can use vegetable oil or canola oil, or you can use olive oil if you want, since this has roots in Mediterranean cooking. It's now been on medium high and shimmering hot, ready to go. We put our onions, garlic. You don't have to mince it quite, as long as it's a fine chop, it should be okay. We use some bell peppers, red and green, just for presentation. You want the red and green color in there. We're going to cook the peppers, onions, and garlic for about 9 minutes on medium high. 9 minutes sauteing will produce sort of a browning, golden browning of the onions and peppers in there. That's what we're going for. And once every minute or two, you want to give this a stir and make sure that everything's cooking consistently. There you go. All right, so we've sauteed our onions, garlic, and bell peppers for about 9 minutes. As you can see, we see some golden brown on the edges. We're ready now. And this is a great technique to keep yourself organized. We're adding layers of flavor to this sauce, to this stew. So as you can see, I have arranged all of my ingredients in steps. The next step is to put this tomato paste into the sauteed onions and peppers. Just gonna get as much of this as possible in there. Just give this a good stir. So you can see I've got the meat. This is a pound, about half a kilo of ground beef. And I think this is 95% red meat and 5% fat. What you're gonna do at this point, you're going to add your turmeric on the top of the meat. This, by the way, is one of the Persian touches to this dish. You don't see this turmeric in your spaghetti sauce. Macaroni has turmeric, okay? You're going to mix this all up. Make sure that turmeric gets mixed into the meat and vegetables. One thing to pay attention to, you need to watch how hot and dark the bottom of this pan gets, right here. If you see this starting to darken too much and burn, you need to lower the temperature from medium high to about medium low. So I do a little more mix in here, and I'm gonna set a timer for my 10-minute stretch. All right, 10 minutes of sauteing the meat and turmeric with the vegetables we had is done. Now we're going to put our shredded tomatoes in there. Like I said, we have the paste and we're gonna add some sauce later, but this is just to give it a little fresh kick. Back home in Iran, they usually use thyme. Here I have Italian dried mix of Italian Mediterranean herbs that I can use. You see the moisture from the shredded tomatoes is starting to take off and dissolve some of the brown bits in the pot, and that's what we're looking for. So we're gonna give this a little stir and let it cook on the same temperature, about medium-low, for 5 minutes here. Okay, our 5 minutes is finished at this point. We are ready to add all the rest of the ingredients and go for the long simmer. Whatever you add to your sauce at this point has to be heated, right? We have our chicken broth. We're gonna do half a cup of this hot water. Then I will do the tomato sauce right here, sliced mushrooms, and our salt and pepper. Now this thing is cayenne pepper. I like a little bit of zing, if you will, a little heat, and it's optional. If you don't want that, you can just skip it. One last item, which is really another Persian touch. The saffron solution is a mixture of hot or very cold water with ground saffron. I have shown you this in my rice video and a couple of other videos, and it's real easy. So you basically steep this for about 4 or 5 minutes. We add about a tablespoon. I always keep this in the fridge because I use it for different dishes. We're going to mix all of this thoroughly, and then we're going to bring it to a quick boil and then drop the temperature to simmer and go for an hour. All right, as you can see, we have a slow boil going here. We're going to do one more stir right here. And I'm going to drop this to simmer, which is a little above low, and then cover the pot. We're going to go 45 minutes simmering with the lid on, and we're going to uncover it and do another 15 minutes, which is a total of an hour. And the sauce will be ready. Alrighty, the sauce, or at this point the stew, has been simmering for 45 minutes with the lid on. We're going to take the lid off and kind of check it and stir one time. Now this is going to go another 15 minutes without the lid on for the sole purpose of reducing some of the liquid. We have our water, some olive oil, and some salt boiling here. We're ready to cook our pasta per standard procedure. One thing to remember, because you'll be cooking the pasta and sauce together for close to an hour, 50 some minutes later, you don't want to overcook the pasta. Take them off heat, super al dente, about 4 or 5 minutes in hot water is enough for this. Then we're going to strain it there. All right, this is the final phase. Everything's coming together. This is the consistency I was going for. I have the pot that I'm going to use to bake this pasta on medium high initially. It's a non-stick, thick bottom, medium pot. Here's another Persian touch. If you've seen the Persian rice video, you know that you can put at the bottom of your rice pot potatoes, tortillas, flatbread, and they will basically cook to a crispy, crunchy, what we call Tahdig layer. So we're using potatoes. I cut them about 1/3 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. For this recipe, I'm going to put about 4 tablespoons of neutral vegetable oil. You don't want to use something that burns. Like olive oil has a lower smoke point, so use grapeseed oil, avocado oil, or just your run-of-the-mill vegetable. And I use equal amounts of butter. So it's 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of neutral oil. Butter is for flavor. The oil is just to provide more fat. So the two of them together complete that task. I will put a touch of saffron with this, the same process we do for our Persian rice. If you haven't seen my Persian saffron rice video, you should go watch that video. It has that process. So I'm going to put a little bit of salt in this oil and saffron puddle, and some fresh ground black pepper or white pepper if you have it. Here's what I'm going to do now. Because I want to be able to develop that crunchy side and bottom, I will just swirl this oil and butter around to make sure I get it on the sides of the pot for about a couple of inches up. There you go. Now we're ready to build this thing. See these exposed parts that don't have any potato or anything? That's where your pasta will touch the bottom of hot pot and you get that crunchy pasta. This is our drained pasta. I ran some cold water through it to get some of the starch out. The same way you strain and wash your Persian rice after you boil it. We're going to put about 1/3 here, and then I'm going to push down on it to make sure it touches the bottom in between those potato pieces. I'm going to use a slotted spoon to transfer the sauce in layers to my pasta in the pot. The less liquid you have in this pot, the better chance of getting a crunchy tahdig at the bottom of this dish, right? Although I took a lot of care to reduce and minimize the amount of liquid in this sauce, there is some more, some liquid left there. We transfer the sauce in 3 installments. So I have a third of pasta in there. I'll put a third of sauce. You want to leave about an inch and a half of margin without the sauce. Okay, so this is one layer. Now we're going to bring some more pasta. One school of thought says right now, in between these layers, if you like extra aromatic herbs, like your basil or your thyme, whatever you like, dried or fresh, you can sprinkle it there in between pasta and sauce to give it a little more shot of flavor, but I don't do that and it's perfectly fine. Again, we kind of push these out to make sure you get a compacted layer of pasta against the wall there. So I'll bring some more sauce over here and I press down to make sure it's compacted. And then we load up the rest of the pasta on here. I'm going to press down some more. I think we've got enough. Look at this. We got some sauce left there, some liquid. There's not much of solids left, a few pieces. We give this a shake. I'm going to put the lid on. The following process after this is identical to when you make your steamed Persian saffron rice. We're still on medium-high, or on medium, and we're going to let this cook for 2 to 3 minutes. As soon as I see the sweating under this lid, the condensation starts dripping down. That's why I use pots with glass tops. So as soon as that happens, we're going to put a cloth or paper towel gasket on this and steam it. The steaming has created condensation under the lid, and this tells me we're ready to seal this and go for the low and slow long haul. So I'm going to open this. You want to put some holes in this mass. What this does, if you haven't watched the Persian rice video, it creates these vents that help the moisture to rise up from the bottom and help the bottom of this mass dry up and be crunchy. It also promotes more consistent cooking all through this mass. You're ready to go now? I use paper towel. Make sure there is a perfect seal around the edge. Between medium and low, okay? Now what's important is make sure your pot is centered. Look at it both ways, because the amount of browning and crunching up that you get in the middle very much depends on where your fire heat source is. You want it to be centered in the middle. So right now we have this centered both ways, and we're ready to go for 50 minutes, 50, and then we'll be ready to flip this over and check it out and enjoy the GBD, golden brown delicious. Alrighty, our macaroni is ready. So we're going to put it in cold water to make sure it separates. There we go. Check this out. Yes, so we heard that noise. Get it dried up here. Now every time I do this, I'm nervous because, believe it or not, no matter how many times you've done this with the rice or with macaroni, when you flip it, sometimes you don't get the perfect mold. So let's see where we stand today. What do you think? Oh, look at this. Will you look at this? Now, one thing I want to tell you is right now it's a little flexible, but if you let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, which you should do anyways before you cut it into it, it will start hardening and crunching up. This is a kid's favorite from way back. You're gonna love making this. You serve this with a salad like our Shirazi salad, check the video, or a Torshi, pickled vegetables, go with this dish. If you like what you saw today, please like this video. And if you haven't subscribed, this is a perfect time to subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell button so we can keep in touch. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you right here at Cafe Bagheri very, very soon. You know what I go for first? Tahdig.